What line did you never think you'd cross but then did? I never thought I'd live with a family member after college, but then I started thinking more about expenses. Long story short, I can deal with annoying family debacles if I'm saving over 12 grand a year from rent. I would love to live with my family. I get jealous of people my age who have that option. I spent 36k on rent last year FML. Shooting up. Been an addict since 15 years old but I had never shot. Then I did and loved the crap out of it. 3 ODs. Scars on my arm for life. Just made it to 6 months off the needle on the 7th of August. Good luck. I overtrusted a fart for the first time when I was 25. Last year I did the same thing. I didn't even think I needed to fart until half a second before I'll let it loose. But as it turned out it wasn't a fart. I was blacked out drunk and drove home. I don't remember when I left, which route I took, or where I parked my car. I thought I took a cab home until I went to get my mail and saw my car parked outside. It's one of the most shameful things I've done. I was young and dumb, and it shook me to my core. I didn't realize how easily someone could make that decision and I'm forever thankful no one was injured. It's a line that should never be crossed and I swore up and down I wouldn't ever. After that night, I either planned ahead or take a cab. Especially with Lyft and Uber being so prevalent these days, there's just no excuse. That's a crappy lesson to learn the hard way, but it could have been shittier, and you've bettered yourself, which is good. I remember being a teenager, looking at all my friends going out drinking and doing drugs and thinking that I'd never do that. Welp. The Maginot Line. I was a poor kid from the States and thought I could never afford to be one of those fancy pants who backpacked Europe for the summer, but hey, there you go. How did you afford it though? Poor kid from the States. I never thought I would start smoking. It's funny how it works. A drunken drag off of friends turns into a bummed smoke, which turns into buying your own and then waking up coughing and realizing you've been smoking for X years. Luckily I've been off of them for 8 months now, and quitting sucked so badly that I never want to start again. But then again, I never thought I would start in the first place. Probably my weird fetishes relative to sex. My partner just so happened to have the very same, so here we are wearing latex suits and calling each other names. Mazel tov. One that pretty much every parent does at some point in their life. When I was 12, I was all like, I'm never gonna be that parent that stops my kid from doing what I wanted to do right now, but dad said number. Now, I'm like, all now listen here you little crap. Not really, I use brat, but I think crap. 200 pounds, then 250, now I'm staring down 300. Telling myself I can't go there, but it's so hard to do what I know I need to. I always told myself I'd never ride a motorcycle. They're fast, you don't have self-control, you'll kill myself. Turns out I was right about 2 of those things. Just woke up and had to think about which 2 you meant for entirely too long. I'm just going to assume you are a ghost. Freaking with my stepdaughter's father. The dude is a grade A piece of crap. But I've always told myself not to get involved in that, it isn't my place. I changed my mind once he stole money from me. Oh, I thought you were speaking of literally fricking the guy. The equator. The country being actually called Ecuador really should have been a clue, but sometimes I'm really fricking stupid. Literally just got that. XD. When I was 12 I was a devout Christian and thought I'll never watch P and masturbate after learning what they are from Friends. History proved my 12 years old self was wrong. Smoking. After 25 years of never touching anything even related, now whenever I'm hanging with the guys I just smoke and I regret that and I am really worried that I might pick up the habit. Smoking pot. I have severe nerve damage in one hand and pot helps numb the burning feeling. It is way better than the pain meds they had me on. I was groggy and lightheaded most days. The only side effect for pot is a bigger Pringles expense and Pink Floyd sounds better a little buzzed. I can live with those side effects. So you had me until you said Pink Floyd sounds better. They couldn't sound better. Honestly I'd have to say having a friend of a race that I literally used to be racist against for the entirety of my childhood. Now my closest friend in the entire world is of that race, and I'm very grateful for the fact that I was able to overcome that racism before I became an adult. My mother was screaming at me and telling me to go to heck, but being the supernatural watching edgy 12-year-old, I calmly said, "See you there, B." She cried. If your mother was telling you to go to heck and screaming at you, OFC, it depends on what you did to make her do that in the first place, then that's an appropriate reaction. When I was growing up, my hard-working mother would spend days working on the farm in a ratty t-shirt, pants, and worn-out shoes. She never wore makeup and many times didn't even bother brushing her short hair. There were times when she needed something from a grocery store, so would simply drive into town to get it real quick with no bother to how she looked. We would have neighbors stop by and my mom would act like nothing was wrong while visiting with them covered in dirt, and worse if she just came from working with the cattle. Now, she would dress up and looked very nice if it was a special occasion or if she had to work in town, but out on the farm, she often looked embarrassing for a teenage girl's sensibilities. I remember thinking that when I grow up, I am always going to make sure I'll look good, even on the days where I spend being lazy around the house in case someone saw me. Yeah, that didn't last. Trying H. I was comfortable smoking weed and using coke. Then curiosity got the best of me and well, that line got crossed. Thankfully I didn't take a big liking to it and never used it more than a couple times. 0/10 would not recommend. Hey, let's go to sleep and wake up itchy. Never understood the draw. I told myself as a young kid I was going to become a nun and not deal with all the crazy crap going on in the world. Sorry kiddo, you turned into a tattooed metalhead instead. Cool. Unprotected sex. I keep swearing I won't do it again, but that line is too easy to cross. I remember looking at documentaries about people with mental health issues and thinking, at least I don't have anything like that. Fast forward to today and I've been arrested for threatening somebody with a crossbow because they upset me, and now I'm having to go and see a psychiatrist about my mental health. Putting hands on my she and I got into some stupid pee contests and crap was getting heated. I told her let's settle down and talk it out later as I grabbed a cig and beer to sit in my chair and try to calm down. Didn't say anything after that. This was unacceptable. She came over and hit me in the head twice with her fists and started screaming at me. I walked into the kitchen and she shoved me into the fridge and went to go into the cutlery drawer. At that point I just acted and grabbed her by the waist, spun her around, held her by her throat and pushed her against the fridge, and basically said, "I really hope you weren't about to grab what I think you were after hitting me 3 times for no freaking reason." She started breaking down, crying and apologizing, etc., saying a bunch of BS. In the end we broke up shortly after. I found out that she wasn't taking her antipsychotic meds and was just throwing them in the trash can instead. When I saw that I knew it was time to GTFO. Luckily you crossed that line. No way I'll ever drink. People that depend on intoxication to have a good time are boring. They need to find better company if they can't tolerate their friends sober. Now I need the goof juice to make me more normal in most social situations, or completely alone in my apartment to stop feeling pee off. I don't recommend that though. I'm probably setting myself up for dependency. Drinking on weeknights. Then the line moved to getting drunk every night. Now it's I'm never going to drink during the day when I have crap to do. I'm terrified that I will anyways. Once I do that the first time, it'll happen over and over until I ruin my life more than I already have. I'll go from a functional alcoholic to a drunken bum in a matter of months. I don't want to die like this. I never thought I'd be in a poly relationship, and then I was, because I wanted to be with the guy so much that I was willing to deal with whatever. But then she left, and he left me, because I wasn't enough. That was yesterday. I don't know what to do. You need to learn how to love yourself. Told myself for many years I would never hit a woman. Then my ex tried to kick my dog. Why I broke up with her, and sadly not because of the multiple times she left me bloody and bruised, and I just lost it and punched her with all my strength in the face. Then spent 2 weeks in jail because no one could afford my $50,000 bail. All charges were dropped. For various reasons I am not allowed to discuss, but I think I can get away with saying her bad attitude got the best of her. Haven't dated anyone since then. It's lonely, for sure, but I tell you what, I realized I have a really crappy tendency to date crappy people. I'm not one to promote violence, but I'd probably have the same reaction if someone kicked my dog. I bought my first lottery ticket few days ago. I'm 34 years old. I promised myself to never buy it in my 20s. I had another terrible day at work. The cashier proposed me one, and I said why not, so I could maybe have a chance to quit my job. So basically, I gave directly my money to the government because I was hopeless that day. I dated the ex of a friend of mine. By that point I was talking to her a lot more than him, so feelings naturally formed because of how much contact we had. I regret it. She turned out to be a manipulative bee who turned her back and abandoned me during one of the darkest points in my life. The worst part is not being able to get her the frick out of my head. I think about her daily and all the effort I invested in her, but no, she won't ever do the same. I wish I could hate her. I want her to disappear completely from my mind. Cheating. Never thought I would be the one to do it, but I made the wrong decision when I was put in that situation. It's a crappy thing to do and it ruined my relationship with a girl that I loved. Can't change the past, but I won't be making that mistake again. In 2015, I snapped and vowed to stop working for my family. I've worked the family business since I was maybe 10 years old, but have been experimenting with working in a different field and different roles since graduating college. My family is very high strung. It's put me through college, which is good, but at the same time, it was consuming my life. As in, I'd get 10 minutes notice that somebody is expecting me to do some work on a property, etc. Basically an angry phone call from my dad. Where are you? I told so and so you'd help them. Hurry up, he'd be in a huge rush to get work done and phone me and expect me to just jump and run out the door to meet clients at the drop of a hat. And so I'd have to be glued to my cell phone to take random calls because people would get accustomed to the fact that we'd do work super fast. As in, one time I got an angry phone call that I had to go pick up an end table right now and deliver it immediately to an office because it just got delivered and they apparently needed it within the hour. So I got yelled at to drop everything and do it to keep the client happy. In the summer of 2015, I spent about a week straight just being yelled at. Being yelled at for taking too long, being slow, taking the wrong route to get to a job site. For example, I took a way that apparently had too much traffic, taking too long to answer my phone, etc. No matter what, I was never fast enough. I just kept listening to yelling and the words "where are you" followed by "hurry up." This family business was consuming me. I got yelled at to hurry up and bring some supplies down to a job site. And on the way there I got called every 5 minutes. Where are you? Why aren't you here? Hurry up. I was so anxious my hands were shaking. I kind of went out of it, and I started driving, and accidentally took a wrong turn and ended up at the airport. My phone kept ringing with status updates. Why aren't you here with the supplies? I handed the supplies off and just got back into my car and peeled off. I vowed to never work for the family business again. I got a job in my field again shortly thereafter and never looked back. Now I have well-defined work periods and breaks and get treated humanely. To this day, I keep having to say no to coming to job sites and doing work. And I know my family thinks I am lazy for not helping them, but I just can't take the yelling anymore. Eating butt. I thought it looked a key and pee as a kid. Lo and behold, when the moment presented itself to me in the backseat of an SUV one night. No hesitation. Been an addict ever since. I thought I would be one of the few who never left church. I saw how some of my friends would leave and I vowed to be a good Christian. But I always had doubts. I played for the youth group but I was always the black sheep. After I got expelled in 8th grade I really began to see how crappy a lot of those people were. Then I started looking into the occult and stuff my senior year. Started smoking weed after high school and said goodbye to church. Frick all that. Some were the pettiest people I will ever know. But I do cherish many of the memories I made. I believe that there is a god or something, but not in religion. I have a full-time job at Universal Studios, about to start nursing school, and I'm still taking classes at SMC. I have a happy relationship and I love weed. But according to the church I am lost and not truly happy because I don't go to church and suck up to the pastor. If only those people got off their freaking soapbox and lived a little. I respect people who follow religion, but it's not for me. I never thought I'd find myself treating people poorly because of how they treated me, but when pushed too far I did exactly that. Got it out of my system, learned it makes me feel ugly inside, and now I just walk away. Working for the military. I'm kind of a pacifist, but it turns out that's by far the best place to find jobs in my scientific field. I never thought I'd get a ticket for breaking a serious traffic law. I did. I got a €300 fine and a clip, 1/3, in my driver's license. First offense. It's slightly misleading to say I cheated since I didn't personally cheat on anybody because I was single at the time, but I did sleep with a friend who was in a relationship, so I did cheat with somebody. I was friends with her boyfriend too, though we weren't particularly close, but we were co-workers and got along really well. Story goes, she was sorta infamous for infidelity and at that point in time didn't have a single, so she didn't cheat on. And obviously with this guy it was no different. I was neither the first nor the last. She propositioned me a few months prior and I turned her down because it wouldn't be right. She then asked if she broke up with him would we have a shot. I truthfully told her probably not, since I'm just not properly equipped to date her specifically. A few months later though, she was in a bad place. I was in a bad place. She told me she was thinking of leaving him. And I knew that was balls, but just the perfect storm of loneliness and frick everything attitude coalesced into my asking if she was still interested in hooking up. She was. So we did. I used a bunch of bad reasons to justify doing a bad thing. She does this all the time. She might leave him soon. I'm lonely too. etc. Something I swore I would never do because A. Screw the drama, and B. I'm a good person, damn it, I would never do that. We all do crappy things sometimes. That was one of mine. Now, the part that sorta scares me is that it was great. Not even gonna lie. We hooked up again like 8 months later when we were both actually single and it just wasn't the same. Yeah, of course there was guilt afterwards and I still talk to her boyfriend from back then, so it's always kinda bothering me since I have never and will never tell him. But in the moment, dude, in the moment, when it's happening, just knowing that it's forbidden somehow made it so much sweeter. Maybe it's because I was a goody-goody at the time, so doing something bad was a rush. But honestly it felt amazing, and a really, really terrible part of me wishes we would have done it more. That was years ago. I never did it again with her or anybody else. Never really wanted to. It was a heat of the moment bad decision I made that I secretly have fond memories of, but I'm quite happy to keep as a one-time thing. I'm married now. I hope it never happens to me, but if it does, I mean, karma's a B and I put some bad crap into the universe. Two of my darker secrets right there. 1. That I did it in the first place. 2. That I really enjoyed it. Never thought I'd smoke. Smoked for 10 years. Never thought I'd get married. Did that 2 years ago and I'm expecting a child any day now. Purging, becoming bulimic. Been anorexic for years and would usually purge by fasting because I was terrified of throwing up for my entire adolescence. But a few weeks ago I started purging by vomiting and now I can't stop. It's become an addiction just like anything else. Getting an abortion. Have always been pro-choice. Just never thought that getting one would be the choice I made. Have done it twice and I am so glad I did, as I was not ready at all and the father was a complete piece of crap. That must have been a hard decision. I'm glad you were in a position where you had access to an abortion. Sleeping with a married woman. Didn't know she was married when we first started fooling around and found out soon after. The worst part? Still continued for about a month after I found out and only stopped when the husband was home more often. The virgin me thought I would get myself squeaky clean for the first time, not drunk sex at my own place, and no kissing after me doing oral or her doing oral, and then the reverse of all those things happened in a hotel. In my defense, we were a bit under influence, not entirely drunk. When I first went into uni I promised my mom there was no way I would become liberal and believe in evolution because it was the devil. Ha ha ha. I campaigned for Bernie Sanders, embraced my bisexuality and write gay erotica on the internet. On one hand I did study religious studies, on the other hand I studied it from an academic viewpoint. I suspect in a few years pot will be so ubiquitous that teenagers will forego it to seem cool. No auntie, I'm good. Thanks though. Roll eyes. I think this answer is meant for one AskReddit thread to the left, haha. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.